2. And one, welcome to Life Point Table Talk podcast show. We are with Katrina Wilson, who wrote a book called Dream Talk, Could God Be Dealing With You in Your Sleep? Here it is right here for y'all to see.
You can order that book through Amazon and also through wilsonministries.com.
Good.
So if anybody's interested.
And you wrote this, you said, a few years back,
yes.
right?
Uh-huh.
How long ago was that?
About 25 or 30 years ago, the first book came out.
Hey,
and it also was developed into a college course, and I traveled for years and taught that. And it's the book has been published 4 different times. It's in 4 different languages, so it's been very popular. It's done very well.
It has. It's had a good influence in that time. And so in episode 1, we talked about some of the basics of science and how the Bible, they agree there. There's not a contradiction, how dreams work and so on. So we're just going to kick right back in how dreams affect our lives, because we're all affected by it one way or another. So when we are asleep, we're going to go through some questions again for you.
Good.
So when we are asleep, how does the dreaming process work? And it is a process, right?
Right. Well, the first thing I think people would ask is, who is really speaking to you in your sleep and through your dreams?
Right.
And the Bible tells us, and I think it's fascinating. Number 1, you speak to you. Remember I mentioned about the scientists' 30,000 dreams.
What was his
he evaluated.
Again?
Dreams are a letter from you to you.
Letter from you to you.
And I think that's a free counselor.
Whether you want to read it or not, sometimes, right?
And Psalm 16:7 said this: "My reins, my inner man, instructs me in the night seasons." So your inner man instructs you. That's you.
Right.
The next who speaks to you in your dreams is God. Psalm 17:3. God visits man in the night, and I think that's fascinating.
Right.
And then number 3, I believe Satan tries to interrupt our dreams. And Revelation 12:10, he says, Satan is an accuser of the brethren, day and what? Night. And then I believe number 4, you can have a pizza dream. Natural dream.
Just crazy to be crazy, right?
Yes,
no meaning to it.
If your stomach's upset, it's going to affect your dreams.
It does. Is that true? I mean, they've proven that if you eat something, it can affect your sleep.
Yes. If your stomach is hurting, it'll cause you to think you're hurting in a dream.
I've had that.
Yeah.
Like if my hand got numb.
Yeah.
In the dream, someone's trying to chop it off or something.
Yeah.
Something
well,
weird.
This is crazy, but you can dream you're going to the bathroom and wake up and you are. Something like that.
Well, that's it.
You know?
Yeah, well, you don't want that.
Or you can dream you're in pain and wake up and you are in pain. So anything happening in your body, even a pillow can be hurting your neck and it can affect your dream, or mattress, just even natural things.
What was that dream? Tell me that story of the fellow who thought he had a real spiritual dream about
yes, that's fascinating. Things happening to you in your sleep can even cause you to think you're having a spiritual dream. A minister friend of ours asked me to put this in my book, and I did.
Right.
But he dreamed he was being crucified with Jesus.
That sounds so spiritual, right?
And, in the dream, he knew he was dreaming. That's called a lucid dream. And he said that. Oh, I'm so spiritual. I'm being crucified with Jesus. And he saw himself being laid out on a cross, and Jesus was on the other side of him. And then the soldier came and began to pound a nail into his hand, and he woke up.
Right.
And he thought, oh, I'm so spiritual. What a spiritual dream. And then he thought, if that was a dream, why is my hand still hurting? Well, he looked over where his hand was hurting, and what happened, his wife had rolled her hair in the night with these big rollers and put these little plastic picks in them.
I remember that, yeah.
And she rolled over on his hand, and one of those picks were sticking in his hand. So he thought he was being crucified with Jesus.
So that somehow gets into your psyche, into the dream, and paints a movie, a picture.
Absolutely.
And you're even feeling it. Why do you think it's exaggerated, though? Why are dreams in the exaggeration mode?
To get your attention. Absolutely, to get your attention,
like
to make you think about it.
Language.
Yes, it is. It's its own language.
Right.
And even some scientists call it a spirit language, a language from the spirit realm, from your subconscious.
It's almost alien, trying to decode, get across to you in a different way.
Well, when you have a dream that shows you the future and it comes to pass, it's more than just a dream coming out of you.
Yeah.
It begins to, and even scientists are saying it shows you a realm beyond yourself. And I think that's the fascinating thing.
So there's a difference between natural dream and spiritual dream.
Yes.
I think we talked about
And I'm going to
that.
share, let's go through the dream process, okay?
Yeah, okay, that's what
Number
we
one,
started.
and now this is not just me saying this or the Bible saying this. This is science through the sleep labs that they've discovered. When you're asleep, your body and your brain, and all your brain is your computer
Right.
that stores pictures, all right? Your body and your brain are at rest when you sleep, okay? Yet they've discovered your subconscious, they call it, or your spirit,
Right.
is active or awake. And you may have never thought about this, but your spirit man never sleeps. It's alive unto God.
True.
And I don't
It's
care,
eternal.
saint or sinner, your spirit man does not sleep. That's why God can intervene in your dreams.
Right.
All right? So your subconscious or your spirit's active. And in sleep, and this is not me saying this is scientists saying this, your dreams form in the subconscious, or what we would call the spirit of man.
Yeah.
And your spirit quickens your brain, which is your computer, to bring forth the pictures that are needed, and that becomes your dreams. So it's your subconscious or your spirit that brings forth the pictures that you need to help you.
That
And
are
I think
already
that's
in
fascinating.
the mind. Yeah.
They're already in the mind, and sometimes it goes beyond the mind, because a spiritual
It's like
dream
a
is when the
soul. Yeah.
Holy Spirit, because your spirit being, the Holy Spirit intervenes into that dream through your spirit and causing your spirit man to quicken the brain, bring forth pictures that you would not have ever thought of. Spiritual revelation.
It's like a soul in the machine kind of deal. 'Cause
Right.
It's very computer. The brain is just a computer.
Right.
But then the soul or the spirit of your mind, I usually say it's the spirit of your mind is in the brain of your body. That's
There
how
you go.
do-
That's
you've
good.
got
You
the
could call
two.
it the spirit of your mind. I like that. I like that.
Well, the mind of your spirit.
Yeah.
Just like your body has a brain, your spirit has a mind. I mean, that's the two. That's the difference.
Yeah.
That's what they say. Subconscious. They really don't know how to define it
Sure.
correctly.
Right.
They're saying something non-material
Right.
is in the material.
Well,
So you're saying the non-material is taking hold of the material and using it as an analysis and taking the
Sure.
pictures, but they're
Right.
usually moving, right? They're more
oh,
movies
absolutely. They're
that
more like
we're dealing
movies.
with.
They always tell a story. And it would be like a parable in your sleep.
Right.
Jesus told
That's a
parables
good
that
way- that's
spoke
a
to the
great way of
heart.
looking at it.
And
Yeah,
a
like
dream is a
parable.
parable in your... I said, why didn't Jesus talk about dreams? And I thought he didn't have to. He used parables.
Right.
And he said this about parables: if they'll hear, I will heal.
Yeah.
And if folks will begin to hear their dreams, they can be healed. And I think that's fascinating. I think the most fascinating thing I discovered is that your spirit never sleeps.
Yeah.
See, I used to think when you went to sleep, the Holy Spirit, who Jesus said would minister to you always, which means even when you sleep, but I thought the Holy Spirit had to go to the other side of the world to minister to those folks when they were awake.
Right.
And then I discovered the Holy Spirit ministers to you even in your sleep, and that's why God can minister to you spirit to spirit, because your spirit never sleeps.
So in order to dream, obviously we have to sleep. So statistics say Americans are very sleep deprived. Is that true? I mean, why would that?
The United States is the most sleep deprived nation in the world.
Oh,
Here's two reasons: television and your phone.
wow.
Your iPhone and TV. And these statistics are about 10 years old. But 10 years ago, and
I
it's
don't know if we
it's
had
even
the iPhone then.
I know. So I'm saying it's even greater
It's
now, but
even
40%
more
of
so. I
Americans
understand.
40% of Americans have sleep disorders. 48%, that's almost 50%, have no regular sleep pattern, and it not only affects the adults, it affects your children. 50% lack sleep, and it's affecting their memory and their mood. And this is fascinating. Any addiction to alcohol or drugs stop or prohibit the dreaming process. And when you can't
So that
dream and
adds
you
to the
can't,
problem.
right.
Right.
Here's what happens. When you can't dream, you can't work through your frustrations or your problems, and you wake up in worse shape, and so you think you have to take more in order to be clear.
Gotcha.
And then your hectic lifestyle. And I think this goes along with Daniel 7:25. Said the Antichrist system, the purpose of it, they'll change the laws and the times, and that's happening right now. And the whole purpose is to wear out the saints. And I think that's fascinating. So
Right.
our hectic lifestyle. I read a statistic in Minnesota. They were having so many problems in Minnesota. They brought in psychiatrists from all around that area into the school system. And they said, after a while, they said, here's the conclusion. These kids aren't getting enough sleep. They said school must start a minimum of an hour later. And they said almost immediately all the discipline problems started going down immediately because they got more sleep.
Us have more sleep.
Absolutely.
In school back in the day.
Yeah.
Sleep till noon, maybe 1 o'clock.
Well, I don't think noon.
Sleep till noon, 1 o'clock, then go to school.
Yeah.
After that.
No, I don't think that would be good.
What are the benefits of sleep then?
Well,
we're sleep deprived, then why do we need to get? The sleep
I
we
love
need?
Psalms 127:2, and I'm going to read it out of. It's called the Schillenbecker translation. Listen to this.
Yeah.
Psalm 127:2. In vain do you rise up to work before the daylight has appeared. In vain do you stay up until late. For without the Lord you toil in vain and sit there far into the night, that by your toil you may have bread, that you may eat your hard-earned bread. But God's own loved ones sleep in peace, for they know that God is bountiful to those who are his faithful ones, and he will provide for them even in their sleep.
That's benefit. I think the big benefit for me is when I get good sleep is just you're ready to go.
Yeah.
You're recharged. There's some kind of recharging.
Well,
that takes
here's the
place.
three things that helps. Number one, this is proven fact, okay?
Right.
Number one, your mind, your memories are restructured.
Uh-huh.
Your thoughts are consolidated. And listen to this, I love this. If you sleep a minimum of 8 hours, you have a higher IQ.
I like that. Make you smarter.
Anything under 7 hours of sleep, your IQ goes down. And I think of so many students, they stay up all night to study for a test, and I think it's going to help them. Really, their IQ is going down, not up.
Wow.
I had a kid take my class, and he said, 8 hours sleep, your IQ goes up. He said, what about if you get 12 hours sleep? And I said, I think somewhere in the Bible
There's
it
a
says,
boundary, right?
yeah, too much sleep leads to poverty.
Yeah, it
so I don't
does.
think that.
A
So
little
that's
sleep,
what
little
happens.
slumber.
That's what happens with your brain, your mind, your body. Listen to this: just 8 hours sleep, your blood sugar is balanced, your immune system is boosted, you have better eye coordination from watching your dreams, and the healing chemical serotonin is released from your brain into your body and brings healing. And then spiritually, you are renewed and refreshed from the spirit realm.
Well, that sounds thought out and designed.
Yeah. Well, the scientists say this: people must sleep and they must dream because it keeps you healthy, whole, and balanced.
Right.
We had a man take this course, and he said he worked for agnostic, atheistic scientists.
Right.
But he couldn't understand when they couldn't solve a problem. They had a yellow tablet and a pencil, and they would go home and sleep on it, take a nap. And he said most of the time they would come back with answers. And he could not figure that out. He took this course, and he finally realized why they went to sleep on it, even though they were agnostic.
Right.
Their brain restructured, and they got answers. And so many times we're wanting answers, and I believe we need to learn more to, quote, sleep on it.
Right.
And then evaluate it.
So, dreams speak to us. That's a big point there. Letter from you. And that, I think another question, kind of hit on this, but why is it so difficult to understand a dream?
Well,
Or do some people read into it what's not really there too?
Yeah.
I mean, it's both ways. The
Right.
balance.
well, dreams come in symbols, and I think we get so enthroned and watching the
Enthralled.
symbol,
Yeah.
enthralled. That's
Yeah.
probably a better word. Enthralled with the symbols that we don't look for the principle. Every dream is principle oriented, and you must look for that. And your dreams, the symbols usually represent your emotions, your ideas, your character traits, and they're to catch your attention and cause you to evaluate. And if you don't think about that in your dreams, but think about the Bible. The Bible's symbolic. Jesus is called the Lamb.
Right.
What do you think of as a lamb? But Satan's called a dragon. What do you think of as a dragon? So you can see that's the principle of it. I'll give you one. It can be symbols can be natural or spiritual. I'll give you one example. Water. Water in a dream represents source of life.
Yeah.
Well, it's what you're doing in the water in your dream. We look for the principle. If you're drowning in a dream, think of the principle of that. What would it be in real
Stress.
life?
Difficulties, stress.
Yes,
What?
you're drowning in life. You're
Yeah.
going under in life. But if you're enjoying the water and drinking the water and wanting people to join you
Gotcha.
in the water,
Yeah.
then that's a whole different aspect. So
What about a house? A lot of people dream they're in a home and
this is
trying
mostly
to get out of the house,
yeah,
basement, upstairs,
right.
that kind of thing.
A house usually represents the person, and it's according to what floor you're on in a house, which I think is fascinating. The main floor represents your natural life. The attic represents your mind. The basement represents your spirit.
Right.
And it's the condition of the house. Beautiful house, torn down house. A lot of women dream of houses. I'm not saying men don't, but a lot of women do. But I had a young man come to me years ago, and he was having this horrible nightmares, and it was in the basement. And in it, he was fighting these horrible creatures, and he wasn't winning. And he had them night after night. And finally, he said, someone told him about me, and he came and he told me the dreams. And when I interpret a dream, I usually go by the symbols. So I told him the symbols of a house because it was in a house. And I said, the basement represents the spirit realm. I said, what's happening to you spiritually? And he went stone cold silent. And then he looked at me and he said, I'm a backslider. I used to know Christ.
Right.
And I said, and what's happening in that basement? He said, I'm fighting these terrible creatures. I said, what's happening in your real life? He said, I'm fighting these terrible spiritual creatures that are trying to destroy me.
Right.
I said, who was winning in your battle? And he said, it wasn't me. And I said, what do you think that dream means? And by then he's crying. He said, I need to come back to Jesus. And guess what? He did.
Call.
It was a
Right.
wake-up call. But look how the
through.
dream came. Isn't that fascinating?
Right. So he was able, the home, what was the spirit part? The basement?
He was fighting
'Cause
creatures.
It's the core.
The core.
Of your life,
You're right.
right?
The foundation. In your
Down
basement,
in the
usually
heart.
the, yeah.
Right. That's
yeah.
fascinating. So here, we're going to end episode 2, and we'll come back for 3. We're doing about 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
Talks, and
All right.
perhaps even as we go along, as we continue, we'll maybe go longer. We'll see what we do. I enjoy it, and we'll see you next week. We'll come back and we'll keep discussing. I think there's a lot here.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have an interest. I know myself. Just, so we can see the signs too, the
Yes,
direction
absolutely.
from every angle. We need all the help we can get.
Absolutely.
And if we can get help from our dreams, that helps all the better. So Life Point Table Talk with Katrina Wilson. Get her book, Dream Talk. Thank you for being with us today. See y'all.